I had to learn to change that inner voice that I had heard. I had to learn to speak positively to myself. And I had to stop making excuses. Seemed very simple at that time, but for me, it was huge. But it started with a vision. Mr. Lyles asked me a question once. He said, Mr. Humphrey, he said, what do you want for yourself when you get out of here? At the time I was in solitary confinement, I thought he meant, what do you want for yourself when you get out of solitary confinement? But that's not what he meant. What he was asking me is, what do you want for yourself when you get out of prison? That was something that I hadn't planned on. As you can remember, I thought I was going to die in prison. But Mr. Lyles had this vision for me. For me personally, at that time, my vision didn't extend past the barbed wire fences. It didn't extend past this perimeter patrol facility. But over time, as I thought about his question, what do you want for yourself when you get out of here? I started thinking about life outside of this prison. And I started thinking about these things that I wanted. And I got to tell you, I got excited. My heart rate kind of went up. And I smiled thinking about living this life outside of that prison, even though I hadn't had it yet. Has anyone here ever played the lotto? I was going to say, I know I'm not the only one. Recently, the lotto was up, I think it was over like $1 billion. So I stood in line, I bought my ticket, got into my truck, and I'm staring at this lotto ticket, and I'm visualizing all of the things that I was going to have, that I was going to buy once I won. And I'm thinking about those things and visualizing that all of these things, the funny thing that happened is I got excited. My heart rate went up. The same thing that happened sitting inside that prison cell, it was as though my body responded, as though I actually had these things that I was visualizing. So next time Mr. Lyles asked me that question, Mr. Humphrey, what do you want for yourself when you get out of here? I was ready. I had written this list for myself. And here's what I had written down. I said, Mr. Lyles, I said, one day I want a house with a fireplace. The fireplace was for my mama. I said, I want a car that doesn't backfire. My first car was a '63 Dodge Dart with push-button gears. The only problem is it backfired. And living in LA where there's gangs, that was a slight little problem. But I wanted a wife and a family. I wanted a career. And I don't know why, but as a little boy growing up in South Central LA, I believe that all wealthy people owned something else. I believe that they all owned a Persian cat for some reason. Now, I can tell you the only Persian cat I'd ever seen was in the Fancy Feast commercial, so I don't know where I got this from. But I said, Mr. Lyles, I said, one day I want a Persian cat. You know, they say go big or go home. Yeah, I was going big with my Persian cat. But this list became my lotto ticket. I took some toothpaste, some prison tape, and I stuck it on the back of that list. I stuck it on a wall in my cell. And every now and then I look at that list. But every time I looked at it, I could see it pretty clearly. I'd get excited. Sometimes I'd be smiling to myself, and somebody, what you smiling at? Never mind, nothing, you know. But it was as though, again, like my body was responding as though I really had achieved these goals. But that list, like I said, it became my lotto ticket. But unlike a lotto ticket, I had a little bit of control over whether or not I could accomplish those things. But for me to accomplish these goals, I would have to take some chances. I would have to do some things. I would have to do some things differently. And just in case any of you are wondering, I can tell you that today I have everything I wrote down on that list except for that Persian cat. My son, Quincy, he's allergic to cats, right? So I told him one day, because my children, they know about my life and they know about that list. And he says, Dad, just get the cat. But he is really, really allergic. I said, son, I'm not going to buy a cat. I said, but maybe we can get a hairless cat. So what does he do? He goes and Googles it. He says, nah, Dad. He says, those cats are creepy. So I still don't have that cat yet. But I wouldn't have any. Simple question, what's your vision for this year? And not only that, but is it so big that it requires you to step outside of your comfort zone? For me,